How good is the RØDE PodMic?
Let's find out.
Before we dig into this review, let me tell you a short story. I make my living as a producer and audio engineer, and that means getting a lot of people into the studio, recording them and working on their stuff. But as you probably know, because of current events happening, that is no longer possible. We're all in quarantine. That sucks, doesn't it? Yes, it does. But a couple of friends of mine wanted to continue working on music, and they asked me for a recommendation for a good microphone to record at home. Now, recording at home means a couple of things. First of all, you most probably don't have a very well-treated environment. That means that most large diaphragm condensers are out of the question, because they're more trouble than it's worth in an untreated room. They capture all the reverb and everything that's going on, noise and stuff like that. You will have most success with a dynamic microphone. So, here comes the PodMic into play. A dynamic microphone that was made for podcasting. Let's see if this one will do a good job in a music recording environment. For that purpose, we're going to compare it with two legendary microphones that you surely have heard of. First of all, the Shure SM57 and the Shure SM7B. Let's see how the PodMic fares. For our first test, I'm going to be speaking into each of those microphones so you can hear what difference they make on my voice. Also, I would like to point out that you're currently hearing an Audio-Technica 804040, which is my main recording microphone for those types of videos. Now, let's start with the SM57. Alrighty! So right now I am speaking into an SM57, mostly known as an instrument microphone, but it has been used for recording vocals on a lot of albums, including Lamb of God, I guess. Or was that an SM58? Either way, SM57 and SM58 have the same capsule, so they do sound very similar to each other. Right now, I'm speaking into the SM7B. This is a legendary vocal recording microphone, which has been used by Michael Jackson on Thriller, Slipknot, Papa Roach, and all sorts of other bands. So yeah, I guess you could say it's a pretty darn good microphone. And finally, I'm speaking into the RØDE PodMic. First thing I notice is that this microphone is a lot heavier to hold than the SM7B, but I wouldn't consider that to be a bad thing, because this microphone looks to be built like a tank. Another thing that I'm noticing is that it has a higher signal output than the SM7B. That means it's louder. For our next test, we're going to see how those microphones react to plosives. Poo, 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 pop, plosives. Pop, pop filter. I need a pop filter. Do I need a pop filter? Poo, 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 pop filter. Do I need a pop filter? I don't think I need a pop filter for this one, because it has one incorporated. Incorporated. Poo, 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 pop filter. Do I need a pop filter? I don't think I need a pop filter for this microphone either. So for our next test, we're going to take those two microphones that have a pop filter incorporated and record vocals for a song. Okay, I took one of my songs, which was originally recorded with the SM7B, and recorded the chorus with the PodMic. Let's jump into Reaper and see the differences. First of all, let's listen to the original version. Cool! Now I'm going to mute the SM7B and unmute the pod mic. Let's see how it sounds. You can hear that the pod mic is a bit more open and less warm than the SM7B, but you should take into consideration that for this test I've used the same EQ that was made for the SM7B on the pod mic. Now I've made a third combination, which is pod mic and SM7B, with the pod mic EQ'd to fit better into the mix. Let's see how that sounds. You can probably see on the screen where the pod mic right here and the SM7B are. Here and here. I've marked them for you. Now, please let me know if you heard any difference in the mix, or if you would have figured that there were two microphones used for this recording if I hadn't told you. Now let's look at them in solo. Here goes the SM7B.
Is there anyone anywhere?
Pod mic.
Is there anyone anywhere?
And both of them, one after the other.
Is there anyone anywhere?
For the next test, we are going to compare the pod mic with the SM57 on a guitar cabinet. Now, let's jump into Reaper. First of all, I'm going to play you the SM57, and then I'm going to switch to the pod mic while we're playing. Also, I would like to point out that the microphones were placed on the same speaker, right on top of each other, as close as I could get them together. But please note that when you're miking a guitar cabinet, even the smallest difference in placement can make a huge difference to how it sounds, and I'll get into that later. But first, let's hear how those guys sound. So, SM57. Pod mic. So, as you've probably heard, those are two very different guitar sounds, and I'm sure either one of them would work really nice in a mix. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the mics into the exact same position with the tools I have on hand right now, but I did try a few different positions to see how the sound changes when you move the microphones around. So let's look into that for a little bit. Different position. Very different sound. Same microphone, same guitar cabinet, totally different sound. Now, let's look at the pod mic. different position. Very different sound. So, what do you think? Please let me know down in the comments. Before we get into the final conclusions, let me tell you that this video is not sponsored in any way whatsoever, although I wouldn't mind if anyone from RØDE is watching. Give me an email. But I bought this microphone with my own money and did my own tests, and those are my own conclusions. So what do I think? First of all, let's take a look at the price. You can get this bad boy from Thomann for 115 euros. You can get an SM57 for 20 euros cheaper, that's 95. And you can get an SM7B for 359. That's almost 3 times the price of the PodMic. Taking that into consideration, I find that this is a very similar microphone to the SM7B. It's by no means a replacement, but it has similar qualities and applications. So what are the differences? This one has a higher output and a brighter sound. Also, the internal pop filter is not as effective as that on the SM7B. But that being said, I found that in a mix, this one takes processing very well, and also when you add compression and other stuff, the fact that the plosives are a bit more pronounced on the PodMic is not a problem whatsoever. Up until this moment, I've already mixed a couple of songs using this as the main vocal microphone, and I gotta say I'm really impressed. Also, I think that it would make a very cool microphone for guitar recording, and that's always nice because as great as the 57 is, sometimes you simply want to use something else. I also think it would make a pretty cool microphone for drums. Unfortunately, given the nature of this quarantine, I couldn't test that, but I will for sure later. And if I find anything interesting, I'll make sure to let you know. Other than that, what else can I say? If you're on a budget and you want to record at home, make sure to give this one a try. I personally think it's one of the best options there are on the market at the moment. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Rock and roll.